Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining me today. We have a special show talking about the Churchill Downs upcoming meet and their many stakes, and we have two fantastic guests to join us. Before we do that, we are doing something a little bit different today that I just wanted everyone to know. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, we are not live. This is a pre-recorded show due to some schedule conflicts. And of course, also, if you are watching this as it comes up on YouTube Thursday here at 7 p.m., Churchill Downs is going on right now. So watch this 25-minute show in between the races because, of course, we want you to bet Churchill Downs. Or if you're watching this, of course, other than Thursday night, thanks for joining us. But again, there will be no live chat or viewer interaction. That is something that we usually do not do. But due to our scheduling, that is the case for this show. Again, thanks for joining. We have a fantastic show. I don't want to waste any time, folks, because we have two guests that I've been watching for a long time on the simulcast feed through Churchill Downs. They do a great job there. We're going to talk about the September meet here coming up, which starts today as we film this on Thursday with some great stakes and a lot of changes. Let me bring in from Churchill Downs, the one and only Ed DeRosa and Scott Shapiro. Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
Doing great. Opening day.
Yeah, fired up. 8-race card today, and then awesome weekend of racing. Really excited to get back to it.
Yeah, it's real exciting, guys. It's nice to get back to Churchill Downs. And as I prefaced before, there are a bunch of changes happening throughout the plant, throughout the facility, Churchill Downs. But there are some changes specific to this meet. Before we talk about that, gentlemen, first I have a few real quick questions, and you'll see it on the bottom of the screen. First of all, I'll start with you, Ed. When did you first fall in love with horse racing, and how did you get involved specifically with Churchill Downs Incorporated?
I grew up in Cleveland. My grandfather was a bookie, and the 80s was before full card simulcasting. So he did take some football bets and things like that, but his bread and butter was getting people to play Saratoga and Hialeah and Santa Anita, which you couldn't do at Thistledown at the time other than, if they imported a big race or something like that. So I tag along with them to the track, and I just loved, back then they'd get 4,000 or 5,000 a day at Thistledown. And the roar of the crowd when the horses turned for home, just something that really energized me even as a young kid. And, he'd ask me to pick a horse on occasion, and I'd get a $2 place ticket. I knew show was kind of wussy, but as an 8-year-old, I wasn't ready for win bets yet. But pretty much got me hooked just being there and cheering a horse home. And then I joined Churchill Downs in 2011. As Brisnet's marketing director, and now I mostly work with Twin Spires on the racetrack.
You weren't playing those trifecta wheels as an 8-year-old, huh? The show parlays waited till you were 9 years old, from what I understand.
Yeah, 9 or 10. But actually my first big day I remember winning was at the Wheeling Dog Park, which was about 3 hours from Cleveland. But got on a pretty good run there, and my mom bought me some video game tchotchke or something. So. Won from an early age. Unfortunately, not having a great year at the Windows, but we're going to turn it around this meet.
Terrific. Ad, how about yourself? A little bit about when you started with horse racing and how you got involved also. I'm sorry, Scott, with Churchill Downs.
No problem. Yeah, I got started maybe a couple years later than Ed, but I grew up in South Jersey where Garden State Park was being built as I was a child. I think it was about 1984, 85, started in 84. Remember my father taking me to the Jersey Derby the year, spend $1, skip the Preakness after winning the Derby to run for the big $1 million purse that year. And talking about a big crowd, I remember never had to do it much after the first couple of Jersey Derbies, but we had to park so far away. It was a great feeling. And it was always the combination of the crowd, like Ed spoke of, and the analytical puzzle. Obviously, as you learn more, you can dive into that puzzle more, but that always attracted me to it. And just the idea that you could get a little more bang for your buck, betting on a sporting event, which obviously I didn't do at 11, more than maybe with a handshake with a friend, kind of a one-on-one 50-50 type proposition. But even betting a 5-to-1 shot when you're used to maybe even money type stuff seemed very attractive. In terms of Churchill Downs, the man that's on with us, Ed DeRosa, was responsible for bringing me into the company. I was doing work for some smaller companies, had my own website. which I started from scratch. And Ed, I hit up Ed one day, and they brought me on at Twin Spires to do work as a Southern California correspondent. One thing led to another, picked up mostly full-time work for Brisnet and Twin Spires. Then eventually moved to Louisville in 2018, right before Justify won the Kentucky Derby. Was a full-time employee there, and that was when I got started on the simulcast feed. And thankful to Ed and then all the other team members that brought me on to the opportunity. And yeah, it's been a great run here in Louisville.
Well, I have a very, very small Justify connection that you guys will find out actually about in a minute or two when I switch the screen around. But Scott, I've actually bet Garden State harness. That's how old I am. So they had harness racing there because I used to play a little harness racing also. So I'm very familiar with Garden State Park. And
Jackie Moe and the Catman.
I'm sorry?
Was it Jackie Moe and the Catman and George Brennan in them?
I'll tell you guys. I'll give you a little real quick. So I just had my really big birthday, the big one. You guys can take a guess. A few weeks ago, I turned 50. So I'll give you some idea when my horse racing acumen started. Late 80s, early 90s, pretty much. So I'm sorry. You were gonna say something, Ed?
GSP1. I just remember the program designation.
Yeah,
that place would
absolutely.
rock. That place rocked for the Meadowlands simulcast when there would be Thoroughbred Garden State and Meadowlands harness. The harness was as louder. But yeah, Larry Letterman was still is one of my favorite race callers of all time.
And he is sick, or I hope he's doing okay. I know that he had an illness or he's fighting cancer, I believe, correct? But he's a great guy. Wait, New Jersey people are allowed once in a while? Scott, I can't believe that. Anyway, I don't want to get people. New Jersey, I love you out there. Got family out there. Anyway, real quick, gentlemen, we want to get to the, pick 5 and also the 3 graded stake races in that sequence. But I have 2 other very important questions for both of you that our viewers are going to be interested in who are betting Churchill Downs these next 12 race days. First, and Scott, I'll let you go first a little bit here. What are some of the changes of this meet and some of the highlights of the 12-day meet? And then, Ed, you can piggyback off of whatever Scott would like to say.
I'll take the biggest. I'll take the change. I'll let Ed follow me up from there. The biggest change is that there's no turf racing this meet. We're putting together a new turf course to be ready for the Kentucky Derby season next year.
$10 million, apparently, all coming out of the Scott budget, apparently.
Coming out of my salary. But
that's right.
Yeah, so no turf racing. It's for a good reason. I know a lot of people enjoy handicapping turf races, especially trip handicappers like myself, but still going to get some strong fields, a lot of good 2-year-old races on the dirt, of course, the stakes races that we'll talk about on Saturday and later on in the meet. But that's the biggest change. Maybe Ed has another one to note.
No, I don't know about change. The stakes program certainly merits mention. Saturday, we have 5 of them, including the start to the roads to the Derby and Oaks. I would point out closing day features some stakes and maybe a little bit of a change. You can't count on it every year, but there's definitely an expectation that we're going to see Knicks Go, who could be the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic, and several other potential Breeders' Cup type horses, which typically the September meet, other than the 2-year-old races, really hasn't had that kind of Breeders' Cup prep flavor to it. We've left those races to Keeneland and, of course, the East and West Coast tracks. But just given the timing this year with the Breeders' Cup, where it is at Del Mar, Churchill getting some looks, and definitely looking forward to having those type of horses race here in the September meeting.
Yeah, and that last day will be the Lucas Classic, I believe, is the race that K-Nix Go will be. I'd say K-Nix Go. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. Supposedly that's what the connections pronounce it, but anyway, we understand.
Yeah, I tried to get that going, and then they chimed in on Twitter and said it's Knicks Go, so that ended it for me.
All right, well, we'll keep it at Knicks Go. By the way, if Life is Good ends up going to the Classic, I mean, what a throwdown early that could be between those two. I can't wait. I'm really hoping Life is Good is in the Classic just for a pure betting and enjoyment standpoint. And, both of you touched on this a little bit. The last question I have before we get into our handicapping is because there is going to be no turf racing this meet. Now, we just finished Kentucky Downs, of course, and then Keeneland, will start right after your meet. And actually, I'm going to be there on opening weekend at Keeneland. I'm very excited to go there for my second time. But because of this unusual situation, do you guys think we're going to see a lot of turf to dirt angles during this 12-day meet, or do you think connections are just going to be waiting for Keeneland or other spots? What's your gut feeling on that, guys?
From what I've seen the first couple days, it seems like at least the lower level type horses are going to make that move. Try the turf. One's coming in from Ellis in the lower level races, maybe Belterra, place of Indiana. I think we'll see that a lot. I would expect the pricier horses, the allowance types and stakes types to maybe wait around for Keeneland or maybe, focus their efforts elsewhere. But at least looking at the first three cards, that's the trend that I've seen so far.
I would say, and this is, somewhat small sample size, just 2020, but horses who came out of Kentucky Downs last year, dirt or turf in their next start, were gangbusters, really through the Churchill fall meeting in November, Keeneland, and this meet on short rest. So I'm definitely, with that in mind, willing to upgrade Kentucky Downs starters, especially at a price. And like Scott noticed, I think with the purses, what they are here, if you have a horse ready to run in form, I think you got to take a shot for these six-figure pots in the overnight races. So looking forward to it. Unfortunately, with 12 days of racing, kind of a short sample size to really notice a trend, but the best time to be on a trend is before it happens. So if you think a trainer's loaded with, otherwise turf types, take a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the purse structure. I mean, wow. You're talking about, Kentucky Downs definitely upped their game. The whole state of Kentucky, for various reasons, because of the historic, racing machines, etc. But the purses, these are the biggest purses I've seen at Churchill on a consistent basis in quite a while. So it's very exciting for Churchill Downs. When you have main races of 100,000 plus, allowance raises, 120,000, these are grade threes at most jurisdictions throughout the country. So, and they're running them as allowance purses. It's very exciting. And as most people know, or you should know if you don't, these gentlemen know, turf horses can run very well over this dirt track. Animal Kingdom, we can go on and on, but the way that the dirt plays, it seems like turf horses can handle it pretty well. So I'm sure we'll see big fields, guys. Very exciting. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the races. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and bring up, as you guys can see, usually if you're familiar with this show, you know that usually I put the DRF formulator PPs up on the screen. But we do have a shorter amount of time with these gentlemen today, and so we're just going to touch on a few races in the late pick 5 sequence. I'm also going to show you guys the picks. Let me go ahead and take our scroll off the screen here really quick. These guys do not know my picks. I don't know if they talked to about the races together or not. So we might see some surprises here. Before we start into the 8th race, which is what you see on the screen, the pick 5 actually starts in the 7th race. And gentlemen, we're not going to talk very long, but I just think it's pretty cool to see Dennis's moment back. Ran well. That's the one horse in race 7. Let me just take the Aquabase off the screen. It's a 6 furlong race, the Louisville Thoroughbred Society Stakes. You got really good horses in there. Dennis's Moment, of course, came back. He was a signal for me, like a lot of other people, most likely in the 2019 Breeders' Cup. But real quickly, do you guys have any opinion? I didn't really preface this, but any opinion on that first leg of the pick 5, which is race 7, that starts at 9:05 Eastern Standard Time? Ed, I'll let you go first.
I like Just Might. Just think the consistency is tough to ignore, and he is the top prime power contender via the Brisnet PPs by quite a bit. Big gap to second. So I see that as a race people are definitely going to be using. Bango, maybe they can't resist Dennis's Moment. Just Might's going to be a strong lean for me.
Bango, again, we're not going to go in detail the raid. Bango is unbelievable at Churchill Downs and is on quite a roll. He used to be a total speedball, but has actually been able to rate a little bit. It has been very impressive. Scott, again, I apologize. I didn't really preface you guys on this race, but any thoughts about the opening leg of the pick 5 for our viewers?
Yeah, no problem. I'm on Bango. It looks like that's what you're on as well, Howard.
Yeah.
This horse has rattled off 3 wins since being in non-graded stakes company like he is in this spot. 4 back in the Churchill Downs, which is a grade 1, where I actually backed him heavily that day at 23-1.
Oh, wow.
He ran much better than that 6th place finish suggests. It was a cutthroat battle on 7 furlongs up front, and he was the one that came away out of all the speed horses with the lead and then just tired late. I think he loves the surface, like you said, 6 for 9, 8 in the money finishes. You get Tyler Gaffleone. Looks like Team Foley freshened this one up after the win in the Good Lord to have ready for this spot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speed in that race. So, again, if you viewers out there, they're going to be betting Churchill Downs on Saturday, make sure you look at the PPs because there is a ton of early speed. Now, of course, when I say that, unless it's New York and it's a turf route race, that means you would think there'll be some speed showing up. But every time you think there's 3 or 4 speeds, guys, you've been doing this a long time, like I have with handicapping. Sometimes just they all read the PPs, right? And just one person goes, and maybe the outside Asperson horse ends up winning, although I don't think that horse classes up. Anyway, let's go ahead into the races that we wanted to focus on. Race 8, you guys can see our picks there on the bottom of the screen. H, of course, is me. E is Ed. S is Scott. I thought a bunch of these races were not easy to have and very interesting. The first race that we're going to talk about specifically is the Pocahontas. It's a grade 3, fantastic race. It's for 2-year-olds. Of course, this is a win in, you're in. It's also points for the race to the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Derby Oaks. Ed, I'm going to let you go first as the only one of the three of us that is picking the 9 Hidden Connection on top for Raylu Gutierrez coming in to ride this meet and Brett Calhoun.
I thought the debut was phenomenal. I took a long look at it because the runner-up is actually in on Friday, so maybe we'll get a sense of how Hidden Connection stacks up based on how Ocean Size does. But I went back and watched the race at Colonial. Couldn't have done it easier. I love when a 2-year-old, sometimes they're just faster than the rest. They win gate to wire. They're never challenged. That's fine. You want to be faster than the rest. But I don't mind seeing them rate either. Just adds to sort of that professionalism, being by the Curlin Stallion Connect. Don't have a big issue with this one stretching out to 2 turns. And Gutierrez, certainly a jockey. We're eager to see how he does at Churchill. He went winless at the Turfway meet back in the winter, early spring. He got a new agent, Jose Santos Jr., and he's regained some of the form that he was known for at Finger Lake. So eager to see him ride here and eager to see him ride this filly. I think she could be special.
Yeah, and Connect, I believe, is a first crop sire, correct? And this
appears
to be and I took a look that Connect hasn't been fantastic yet with his babies, but this one looks to be very talented. And I have a general question for you, and then Scott, as you talk about your picks, I'd like you to piggyback off of Ed's comments. When you guys look at these 2-year-old stake races, the first time most of these horses are going 2 turns. When you handicap to help the viewers out, what are you looking at specifically? Are you looking at the buyers or a speed figure? Are you looking at who they've beaten? I think that's something that's very underrated. You have to really look into the charts to see that. Are you looking at pedigree? What's your main angle when you are handicapping these difficult 2-year-old races when they're going 2 turns for the first time?
Well, I could definitely promise you I'm not looking at the buyer. That's definitely not in my equation.
The Aquabase figure.
Yeah, the Brisnet number helps a little, but
Sure.
Rag is in. But with 2-year-olds, you kind of anytime you're going to pick one to win a stakes out of a maiden, or if there happens to be an allowance race for 2-year-olds, you kind of have to assume they're going to get better. They're not going to win. So the number's a baseline. I actually really like looking at the pace ratings on Brisnet. I like to see a horse, if they're sprinting and stretching out, that got faster as the race went on, which is in play here, and the reason for my pick in the Iroquois, so I won't give that away specifically. But the pace to me is important, because in those 5.5, 5 furlong races for 2-year-olds, they're going to go quick early, so that's good to see. But what do they do late, and then do they have the pedigree that sort of intimates that they can go on with it? And Hidden Connection checks all those boxes for me.
Do you want to touch on your other 2 picks quickly as well?
I don't want to steal any thunder with my second pick, who I share with Scott's topic. And then on the 1s and 2s, kind of looked like maybe went the wrong way at Saratoga in the Adirondack, but Norm's a trainer. I trust a lot, and obviously the filly has had some success here at Churchill, so wouldn't shock me, but I'm pretty strong on Hidden Connection here.
Yeah, Hidden Connection was fantastic. Again, folks, we're not going to show replays like we do at times, but Hidden Connection just drew off one easily. My only concern with Hidden Connection is who did the horse beat? But again, she did it so easily.
We'll find out Friday, because the horse she beat's running.
Of course, absolutely. Scott, you and I agree, sir. Majestic Doro for Brendan Walsh. Martin Garcia is going to take the mount. A very, very impressive winner in Indiana Downs, going that same 5.5 difference. But you have to believe this horse can stretch out also.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Howard. And just to touch real quick on what I look for handicapping. First and foremost, I'm a visual guy when it comes to these young horses. Not too concerned with the speed figures first time out. You see a lot of horses run big numbers as a debut winner and never get back to those ever. And you see some of the best horses we've seen in the history of racing maybe even lose on debut. So I don't get too worked up over that, but I want to see something visual. I don't want to see an easy lead. And then again, what you mentioned, I think, is a great tool as well. Looking over the charts, looking at the, using Brisnet in our case to look up, the past performances of the horses that they beat. With a case like Hidden Connection, I don't know what you're supposed to do other than win by 7.5 lengths, no matter the competition. But in other cases, maybe at Saratoga, you can separate some of the 2-year-old races. Some of them much stronger than others. The ones on the big Saturdays tend to be really good. And just in general, how they could pan out. In terms of Majestic Doro, I thought this horse was extremely impressive in that win at Indiana. I know went off at just under 6-1, so didn't take a ton of money for a horse. 10-horse field, though, and I had heard a little bit of buzz about this horse going in, and I really liked the way she was able to settle under jockey Deshaun Parker that day. Showed the ability to relax, which is important, I think, especially in a race where there's a lot of speed and where you're going to be stretching out. And then showed an ability to finish straight and professionally, which I think will do her well. Brendan Walsh, a guy capable of winning first out, but definitely a guy that gives his horses time, doesn't rush them to the races. So I expect this horse to move forward, and the pedigree is there to move forward. I have to take charge to Oro, who did his best running going long and earned over $136,000.
Yeah, and Scott and Ed, I give extra credit to 2-year-olds who break their maidens coming from behind or just off it. I think that shows a lot more professionalism. And so for me personally, I tend to upgrade horses, 2-year-olds that break their maiden not on the lead. There's nothing wrong with breaking your maiden on the lead, but somehow I think going in between horses and just shows a lot more professionalism if you can close winning first out. And that's what Majestic Doro did. By the way, if you guys hear music in the background, it's not one of Ed's favorite musicians, Meatloaf. If you follow on Twitter, you would know he's actually at Churchill Downs, so apologize for the background noise there. John, let's move on to the next race, and you have to give me a second. It's the Iroquois. Scott, I'm going to let you go first as I go ahead and remove those and bring up another screen here. Again, this is for the boys. This is the 2-year-olds, of course, going that same distance. The first points to the road to the Kentucky Derby for next year and a win and you're in. Scott, let me go ahead and put up our picks on the screen, and I'll also go ahead and bring in, and there we go. We have an 11-horse field in the Iroquois. I thought this was a very tough race, but a lot of us have some of the same ideas. Scott, you're going with the 6 here, Stellar Tap, who is pretty famous for a reason I'm sure you'll talk about.
Yeah, Stellar Tap, the horse that broke the record for Steve Asmussen back last month at Saratoga, making him the all-time leading trainer in thoroughbred racing. And he didn't do it by a head or a nose. He did it convincingly, battling early with Brigadier General, who hasn't panned out, but was a well-met West Point thoroughbred horse that's taken money in all 3 of his starts for trainer Dallas Stewart. Stellar Tap disposed of Brigadier General and powered away to a win. And winning first time out at 7 furlongs, 7/8 of a mile, is not an easy task. He did it convincingly. The pedigree is there to move forward going 2 turns. I know it might look like a challenging race on paper, but I don't think it's loaded with talent. Steve Asmussen hasn't won this race since 2014 with Lucky Player, but I think with the favorite, he wins this one, and this horse moves on as one of the likely favorites in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, I thought he was super impressive. Again, winning from just off the pace, which I like very much. Did it stylishly, as you said, against good horses. Has a big shot. You have the 9 Guntown, who also was impressive for a pretty good sire, by the way, in Gunrunner, who's just been absolutely unbelievable as a father to these babies here. You want to talk a little about Guntown for Asmussen and Tyler G?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Gunrunner, the sire, who's been great, but the damn Funhouse has been even more productive. Obviously, a lot more time in the post-racing life but that the dam produced Untappable and Patio Prado, amongst others. So certainly some reasons to believe that this one can be a good one and a good one going 2 turns. First time out at Ellis Park, ran an okay third at odds of 3-1. I was surprised this one wasn't made the favorite that day. Maybe suggesting that the breeding isn't, what this one isn't as good as what the pedigree shows, but definitely made amends with a very nice effort at the 1.5 1 mile distance at Ellis Park, pulling away late, earning an 87 Brisnet speed rating in the process. Cost $750,000, obviously based on the strong pedigree. I think if it's not the one Asmussen, it's going to be the other one. So I would recommend potentially keying Stellar Tap on one ticket and maybe backing it up with Guntown in pick 5.
And by the way, we talked about who horses are facing. Stellar Tap did also, gentlemen, beat 2 next out winners. So I think you have to give a little more credit to Stellar Tap there on top. However, not Ed. No. Ed is saying, wait a minute, boys. I'm going to go with a lower profile connection horse that is coming from Gulfstream that ran very well. The number 4, Strike Hard.
Yeah, I hinted at having an angle in play when it comes to 2-year-old races, and this one checks that box. I love playing 2-year-olds who earn a triple-digit late pace rating on the Brisnet PPs. Strike Hard got a 102 in the Maiden Breaker. Hot Rod Charlie was a horse who checked that box going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year and helped key one of the best races I had. Is a horse player with that result. So some confirmation bias for me, but the whole reason I liked Hot Rod Charlie that day is I had seen it work before, and a horse like Strike Hard, who you're going to get a decent price on because the others certainly fit, and Asmussen's going to take money for sure. This one got a 91% speed rating, which is right there with all the others. And being by the Tappet Stallion flashback, no concern with this middle distance. The jock comes up for it, and I think we're going to get every bit of 10-1.
And Ed, you would think that a horse that's gone a mile automatically just has an advantage over a horse that have gone 5.5. In this mile 16th race. We're not going to watch the replay. Last comment about this race. We're going to move on to the last. Any concern about the lead switch issues? Again, I'm assuming you watched the race, Ed. This horse was pretty goofy in the stretch, but these are young 2-year-olds, obviously, that can work that issue out.
Yeah, I mean, some concern, especially, the debut as well, had some issues at the start. But, we're not talking about a favorite. Definitely, I think this horse will not be among the top tier of those who get bet on. So easier to forgive and take a flyer.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and move on to race 10. I'll show you your picks there, and I'm going to go ahead and bring up race 10 up on the screen right now. This is the Locust Grove Stakes. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up as I speak. There we go. Locust Grove Stakes. It's a grade 3, featuring, of course, the wonderful mare She Dares the Devil, who is prepping for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, is going to be a big favorite on the outside for Drew and Cox. There's probably not too much to say. We're all going with this horse. Ed, is there any chance this horse can get beat? I will throw 2 reasons out there. One, perhaps she'll be wide. There is a bunch of speed in this race. And as I previously mentioned, this is just a prep for the Breeders' Cup. I'm assuming Cox is not going to empty the tank, but it might not matter, will it?
It's odd because depending on what Latruska does, Cox also has Monomoy Girl. I'm not sure she'll be ready for the Breeders' Cup, but you want to win the distaff, and maybe if she beat Latruska there, she could be champion. Given that would be her third grade 1 win, and she's shipped to do it. So yeah, they'll want her ready, but at the same time, she's 4 for 4 at Churchill, 6 for 9 at the distance. This is her wheelhouse, so why not win the nice purse for especially Fleury Racing, not a Qatar Racing a little bigger, deep pocketed, but Fleury Racing definitely would appreciate the cash infusion. So I think she's here to win. My biggest concern, I would say, is the weight, the 125-pound impost. She is giving 4 pounds to the rest of the field. Not insignificant if she ends up in a tussle on the front end. I do think those 4 pounds can make a difference. I think we saw make a difference in the Apple Blossom, and that's the concern. So I'm going to be price sensitive but she's definitely the most likely winner.
Ed, I'm planning on playing a pretty big exacta 7-1. You and I agree. I wouldn't discount Crystal Ball. What I like about Crystal Ball, two things really quickly. Number one, I love the inside post. Of course, she's going to save the ground. But Crystal Ball was mainly a speed horse. And recently, especially last time in Saratoga, perhaps she's learning to rate a little bit. I think that's going to do her a lot of good if that can happen. So if Crystal Ball can rate and handle the inside, I think she has a chance to upset. And we don't have morning lines right now. At least I'm not aware of them. But you'd have to believe Al Mutant is definitely going to be the second choice here. So I'm going to play a little 7-1 exacta. Scott, you obviously believe She Dares the Devil is going to win, but you like High Regard, who I took a look at as possibly the only real dead closer in a race with a lot of speed. I'm assuming. Sorry, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I'm assuming that's where you were going with your second choice here.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Howard. There are a lot of runners in here with similar running styles. I expect Lady Kate to probably be fastest of them all out of the gates, but Matera, who stalked her last time out at Ellis in the groupie doll, is likely to sit right off her again. You have Crystal Ball on the inside, as you mentioned. In an ideal world, if you're wagering on Crystal Ball, you want her to try to set a pocket trip and relax just off, but could be involved early. And then you have She Dares the Devil and our Super Freak, who are also similar types, like to be on the lead or right off it. So while I think She Dares the Devil is obviously the class of the field and probably wouldn't even need close to her an A game to beat this field unless En Route takes a step forward. I do think High Regard has the right running style. I think she'll move forward, stretching back out to a full two-turn race after that effort in the groupie doll, where she came from well out of it. I know Lady Kate and Matera beat her that day, but they ran 1-2 around the track with Lady Kate getting beaten by Matera in the lane, and High Regard came from well out of it to get third. She showed an affinity for Churchill Downs with 4 wins, 8 in the money finishes in 12 tries. Should get a ground saving trip under regular rider Rafael Bejarano. I'm hoping that it's a contentious early pace and that High Regard can pick up the pieces.
Well, and Vicky Oliver can obviously get a horse ready for this kind of situation. Last question I have for both you guys, and I promise we will let you go in about half an hour. And people that are watching, please stay on after we take Ed and Scott off. I'll be talking just for a few minutes. For those of you playing the pick 5, Ed and Scott, Ed will go first. Really quick, would you single She Dares the Devil or any general horizontal betting, suggestions on ticket construction for this pick 5?
I think in my situation, because I have a price I like in the Iroquois, who I think will be a price in Strike Hard, I'm comfortable leaning on She Dares the Devil. If both of them win, I think Strike Hard adds, the necessary equity, so to speak. The Pocahontas, that's, I'm not really sure how they're going to bet that. Hidden Connection, I think will take money off the fast number. Norm will take money. I think I see that one as kind of more evenly bet. So the key opinion for me is definitely Strike Hard.
Scott?
Yeah, for me, I don't have that creative opinion in the Iroquois like Ed does. So while I agree with his assessment based on his selections, for me, it's more a matter of going thin. I like She Dares the Devil, and I like the Stellar Tap in those races. I might have a backup ticket with the other Asmussen runner, the Gun Runner Colt. But overall, I'm going to try to hit him multiple times by playing thin tickets. I think spreading out too deep, what looks like somewhat of a potentially chalky sequence. I haven't gotten to look at the races, though the finale yet not being a stakes race and being a couple days out. I'll get to that later today. If I have a strong opinion on a price in that race, that might change my approach a little. But if I don't, I'm going to play thin tickets and try to hit it multiple times.
The number 9, Runaway Magic, is the horse I like in the last race. Well, I'm going to touch on that last race a little bit.
Runaway Magic.
I'm sorry.
Runaway Magic.
Yeah, we don't have morning lines right now, but I think if I recall, the trainers got 2 in that race, and I like that one more at a bigger price. So I'll be talking about that. That's right, Tommy. He's got 2, I think, in that race. I think he's got the 2, the favorite. I'll take a look at it in just a minute here when we're off with you guys here. But gentlemen, I promise I'd get you guys in and out about half an hour. Any closing thoughts about the next 12 days of racing at Churchill? Anything you're really looking forward to specifically? Ed, Scott, we'll have you go second, and we'll get you guys off the screen.
I think, we touched on the stakes races next closing weekend, but the 2-year-old racing too, it's all dirt, so we won't get a good look we won't get any look at the turf horses, but I think these trainers that have 2-year-olds ready to roll, they're going to want to run them. It's a $120,000 pot, and I think we have the potential to see some future superstars this meet.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm excited for the 2-year-olds. Like Ed said, always my favorite part of the fall meet. It'll be great, as Ed mentioned in the introduction, to have some of the top Breeders' Cup horses prepping here this year, unlike past years. And also, we'll give Twin Spires a plug. I know you're a Twin Spires player as well, Howard. We've got bet back wagers on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this week and throughout the meet. That means you get your bet back up to $10 if your horse finishes second or third. Ideally, you want to cash that win bet. But if they don't, you have a little bit of insurance. Definitely worth opting in for on Twin Spires.
And for people that watch this video locally, a little hoops and horses Saturday. If you're fans of
Yeah.
Louisville Cardinals, right? They're gonna have live basketball on site, if I read correctly, on men's and women's team. I believe that's correct, guys. So very exciting night for Downs After Dark there on
And
Saturday as well.
Scott and I are playing a game of horse.
Oh, are we still a one-on-one, perhaps, or?
No,
He
it's horse.
doesn't want any of that. He doesn't want
Oh, whoa! Scott throwing it. Well, I'll have to check the Vegas odds and see what that looks like. But anyway, Ed DeRosa, Scott Shapiro from Churchill Downs. I really appreciate you guys coming on to the HHH Racing podcast. You can see their Twitter handles there on the bottom. Gentlemen, enjoy the next 12 days of racing at Churchill Downs. Look forward to meeting you guys in person sometime soon. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Thank
look
you.
us up at
All
All
Kingdom.
right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye. All right. That was Ed DeRosa and Scott Shapiro from Churchill Downs. We really appreciate them coming on. Let me go ahead and show you. There's my selections, everyone, for race 11. Again, there's race 11. I'm going 9-2-1. We're not going to go into detail. That is the last leg of the pick 5. And then, of course, we always talk about my caveman selections. Let me go ahead and bring up the banner. They're going across the screen. There's my caveman ticket. Again, I'm going to single the 7 She Dares the Devil on a small caveman ticket. Of course, all of you know, I've mentioned this many times, that I don't usually play a caveman ticket. I'll be playing an ABC ticket maker bet. So I'll be using plenty of horses underneath the 7 as backups. But you can see my top choices there. It's a very interesting sequence. Highly recommend you play it. Saturday night actually will be the pick 5 there. Let's see. What other you guys see on the bottom of the screen there. Next week, we're going to have a very exciting show. As you see right now on the bottom of the screen, right there. There it is. It appears that a week from Saturday will be the last day of racing ever at historic Arlington Park, only 20 minutes away from me. We are planning to have some guests next week. It's going to be, we might have 2 shows. I'm not sure yet. You'll have to look at my YouTube page or also check Twitter if you follow me on Twitter at HKravitz. Please make sure you follow me there. You can also, of course, reach me through email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. But next week, we're going to be focusing on 2 things. The last day to Arlington, I hope to have some Chicago handicappers on, and we're going to reminisce a little bit about Arlington Park. And then also, it's a huge day a week from Saturday at Parks Racing. It's the Pennsylvania Derby. It's the Cotillion. They have a huge race day a week from Saturday at Parks. Hot Rod Charlie is supposed to be running in the Penn Derby along with Medina Spirit and some other really good horses. So we're going to be focused on Arlington and Parks a week from this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching episode 83 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I've been your host, Howard Kravitz. Until next time, have a great evening and make sure you bet the Churchill Downs September meet. Thank you very much. Good night.